In 1956, a biologist from Brazil went to southern Africa and brought back some lowland African bees, and they were well known for producing a lot of honey, more than European honeybees can produce. His goal was to try to breed them with the bees in Brazil to be able to create a more gentler strain or a more manageable strain of bee that could produce a lot of honey. But what happened was a visitor came to his bee yard and noticed that he had these special excluders on the hives that would stop a queen from being able to leave the hive, and the visitor thought they shouldn't be there, and he removed them, which brought on the disaster, because 26 swarms were then able to leave those hives in Brazil and set up hives all over Brazil and start crossbreeding with the Brazilian honeybees. So it took, they started to spread all over South America, and then by 1985 they reached North America. And in 1990, a hive was discovered in Texas. So these Africanized bees, Africanized meaning the African bees had crossbred with European honeybees, creating a new strain. And this aggressive strain of bee is called an Africanized bee. And they have the same traits as the African bees in that they have excessive defenses, excessive need to defend their hive. They will send out many attackers, many more than European honeybees would do if someone is around the hives, and of course will sting like crazy. There have been, over the years, about 1,000 human deaths from these killer bees. And that's why they got the term killer bee, because they have killed livestock and animals and people. I have read in documentation that most of the people that actually died were elderly and less able to run, to escape from the bees, or to escape to a structure, a vehicle, or somewhere where they could get away from the bees themselves. And that would certainly apply to livestock who are in fenced fields or paddocks, etc. So they would be unable to escape. The Africanized bees are now all across the southern United States and into Florida as well. Their typical would chase you at least a quarter mile. You'd have to be able to run to get away from them, so they do chase for quite a ways. They're also known to swarm frequently, and if they feel they don't have enough forage in the area they're in, they'll actually abscond, in other words, abandon their hive and go somewhere else, which is very unusual because our European honeybees would not leave their babies behind. They wouldn't do that. One of our club members went to Africa to work for a few months with the beekeepers there, and he said that you would have to tape the ankles and the wrists of your bee suit because these African bees would try to get underneath the elastic to sting you in the wrist. So they're willing to go to a lot more effort to try to get at you than a European honeybee would. There are reports from the southern United States now that many beekeepers there have become used to the defensiveness of these bees and are still working with them and actually find them to be really good producers of a lot of honey. So it may be that these bees may end up being more of a blessing than a curse. Time will certainly tell. It has been noted that as they crossbreed more and more, that the bees are becoming more gentle over time and easier to work with. So it may be in time that they won't be so bad. Today, DNA testing is done to test whether or not a honeybee queen is actually a European queen or if she's become an Africanized queen. It's really the only way. There are some visual differences, but they're so slight that they're not reliable. So DNA has been the most reliable way to tell. These are tropical bees, the Africanized bees, so it is not expected that they would survive or do well in northern U.S. or in Canada. So we do not have them in the northern USA or Canada at this time.